Hello guys. Okay, it's Kene once again. I will be talking about some useful Excel keyboard shortcuts today. But before I get into that, I'll very quickly talk about the customization of the quick access toolbar. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So guys, there will be other lessons on using Excel. So we're still at, beginner's stage in the use of Excel. So I encourage you to watch these and, other videos to come. Right, now let's look at the quick access toolbar. That's on row 2. Right at the top of the page of the document here where you have the auto save and blah blah blah, you see these icons. This is for the save, which is Control S, and this here is for the undoing of whatever you have just done, and this is redo. So let's say I typed something and realized that it wasn't something I was supposed to type. I can just use this undo functionality. Okay, so but what if I wanted more commands, more functionalities on this bar, this quick access? It's called the quick access toolbar. What do I do? Very simple, guys. Very simple. Just click on this drop down icon, that's labeled customize quick access toolbar when you hover over it. So I'll just click on it and you will see the different things that can be activated. Save automatically, it's activated. That's auto save, the save, and the undo, and the redo. Now, what if I wanted to add spelling icon? I'll just click on it and you see the spelling icon there, the A, B, C. And if I wanted, say, email, to be able to send email directly from my Excel documents, I'll just click on it to activate it. But I don't need the email and I really don't need the spelling functionality. Now, if you want more commands, you just click on to bring up the entire quick access toolbar functionalities. So these are all the functionalities that are available. If you want to pick any one, say I want to add cut, I just click on cut and voila, it goes. Just click on add and it goes to the icon area that will be shown. Okay, so if I click OK, you'll see the scissors icon there to cut whatever it is. Right, so that's that, guys. I just wanted to mention it. Great. Now let's come down to the main topic of discussion for today, and that's keyboard shortcuts. It can be quite tiring when you have to keep clicking and using the mouse. Sometimes it's just much better to use keyboard shortcuts. So, which are quite important, really. And I would just encourage us not to memorize. There's really no point. Even I haven't memorized all the keyboard shortcuts in Excel. I mean, there's really no need for that. In this age of universal access, there's the internet. I sometimes, realize that I've forgotten the formula for something or the functionality, a command that I need. I just simply go to the internet to get it. So that's the beauty of living in this time and age. So guys, let's go into it. Now, what do I do, when I need to move from one cell to the other, just one cell at a time? Just, guys, at the bottom of your page, on your keyboard, you find the arrow keys pointing south, pointing north, pointing east and west. So the up, down, right, left arrow keys. Just click on any of them. So if I want to move to the right, all I need to do is click the right arrow key on the keyboard. And if I want to move left, I'll just keep hitting the left arrow key. And the same, if I need to go downwards, I'll click the down arrow key. And then if I need to go up, the up arrow key. So that's just what it is, moving one cell at a time. Now, guys, it's also possible to move around, go from one cell to the other by just clicking on the particular cell you need to activate. So if I need to activate cell F1, I'll just click on it, and that becomes the active cell simply by clicking on it. So if you look at the address here in the name box, you have the F1 cell in use. So that's it, guys. If you don't want to use the arrow keys, just click on the cell. But I'm talking about keyboard shortcuts. I can also use the tab button on my keyboard, okay, to move to the right. So just by hitting tab, you see that I move rightward one cell at a time. Now, if I need the reverse, that is moving to the left one cell at a time, I will just use the shift tab. Hold down the shift key and then click pressing the tab button. That takes it, to the left. So let's look at it, guys. You see, I'm holding down the shift key and hitting the tab button, and then the active cell goes leftwards one cell at a time. All right, so that's it, guys. Now, I want to, what if I want to select a range of cells? I can do that by using the pressing down control and then holding down shift and then using the arrow key. So the arrow keys still come, into play. So let me do that, guys. I'm going to move rightwards from where I am now, B7, cell B7. I'm going to move rightwards and I'm going to hold down control and shift and then use the right arrow key. So you see that we use this functionality using the control, shift, and right arrow key to go from one range, that is a group of cells, from one range to the other in a particular direction. In this case now, rightwards. And because I don't have anything, there are no intervals of cells, that takes me to the very end of the columns in Excel, that is the XFD, right? And I want you to take note of the fact that it is highlighted. That row is highlighted. So if I need to go back, all I need to do, Control Shift, and this time the left arrow key, and it brings me back to the first cell on that row. So that's what it is. If I need to move down, selecting all the cells in that range, then I will just do Control, hold down Control, Shift, and the down arrow key. That brings me to the end, the very last row. And then to move to the first row, to move to the row just before you have content in the cell, I will just do Control Shift and up I go. So guys, I hope you understand what this is. Takes you to the end and brings you back. Okay, so sorry guys, the Control Shift just takes us back to the first row. I haven't picked any range, so I'll just do Control Shift to the bottom. That's the last used cell. And then if I do Control Shift again, it then highlights everything to the very last row. Just move downwards like that. And then going up, just like that. Okay, so guys, what if I don't want it to select the cells, as it progresses. I just need it to move, just jump. That's the word. Jump to whatever cell that is in the next range. Just hold down Control and right arrow key takes us to the end. Hold down Control, this time no shift. Hold down Control, left arrow key, hold down Control. It gets to the 28th cell there, row 28, and then hold down Control. It then takes us to the very end of the row. So that's it. You see that the rows are not selected. It's just a jump. So I'll just jump back to the beginning. That is the range, the used range before the start of the rows on my document. And then if I use Control again with the upward facing arrow, it takes me to the first row. So you move from range to the other, from one range to the other, either to the right, to the left, or upwards or downwards. It all depends. And the range, there's no selection there. It just jumps to the cell where it should be. Okay, so that's it, guys. Now, what about, let's look at some other keys that we might find quite useful. What are these other keys we might find quite useful? Think of it. What if I need to print? I mean, do I need to click on File? That's one way of using, the mouse. Click on File and move downwards, and you find Print there to print the document. So I can click on Print and then pick some options, then I print. But I mean, why do I need to go to File and then click on Print when I can just simply do Control P? Just hold down Control key and click, hit the P button. So that brings us to the print options. That's it. Control P right away. You get the print options, and from there you can, print your document. That's for Control P. So think of P as print and it's control. The key before the P is control. Now, what about Control N and the reverse Control W? Remember, guys, when we're creating workbooks and worksheets, remember? We said that Control N is used to create a new workbook. So just hold down Control and N. That's a new workbook, book 7 created. So remember the title of the workbook, book 7. And I don't need a book 7 workbook now. So I need to just exit, just remove it, delete it. And I'll do that by hitting Control W. And that's it. It goes off. I don't need to use the X icon here for closing it. No. Okay, so I hope we got that, guys. That's row 11, Control N or W. Control N, open a new workbook. Control W, close the opened workbook. What about Control S? Of course, I have saved this document, so it's not the first time I'm saving it. So if I hold down Control and do S, hit the S key, it just saves the document in the location where it's already stored. That's it. But if I haven't, for example, saved the open document initially, then it's going to prompt me to pick a location. In fact, let me just do something. Let me do Control N, and I need to save this document now. So blah, blah, blah. I haven't saved it. That's why it has this default name. This workbook has book 8. I'll come to File and just click on Save. Even if I have Save As or Save, it doesn't really matter. Because I'm saving it for the first time, it will ask for a place to save it. So I'll double click on this PC. I like to save it on my local machine, and I can pick document and call this new workbook WB. Let me just call it WB and save. So that's saved. But I don't need this workbook. So let me just close it using the X icon there. Right. So what about Control C? I have this, guys. So let me just hit the cell on row 13. That's Control C. You activate a cell by just bringing your cursor and hitting on that cell. That's it, Control C on row 13. What I need to do, having brought it to that cell, I'll just do Control C. Control C, holding the Control key, make sure you are holding it down and then you hit the C key. It copies it. Now, the next thing now is to have it pasted somewhere. I mean, copied, and the next thing, collocation. We are familiar with Control C, copy and paste. So I'll just, perhaps I want to paste it on row 1, colon G, row 1, that is G1 here. So I would activate G1, just hit once on G1, that cell G1, then hold down Control and V. So what I copied from the cell on row 13 is pasted on row 1, colon G. So yeah, guys, there's just a quick way of having everything at a glance, what the content of a cell, just looking at it and reading it at a glance. Just come, for example, now I have say, just a moment. Let me just add more stuff. Blah, 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 blah. So this overflows. It tends to flow into the next cell. That's not what I want. I want it to be clearly within its cell in terms of visibility. So I will just bring my cursor to the colon bar where you have those letters, and you can see the endpoint for colon G. So it gives you that thick anchor sign there, the icon there. Just double click on it. Double click, and it just sets the width to the size of the text, to the length of the text or the content of that cell. That's just it. And if I need to undo that, just double click. Okay, so I can't really do that anymore. I'll just hold down my mouse and drag it back to where I need it. Right, so that's quite different from word wrap. It's quite different. We'll come to word wrap, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, so just hit backspace I'm going to use backspace alone to remove the content of G1, cell G1, which is where I am. Just backspace and it's off. The content of G1 is off. So I type anything, backspace, it goes off. In edit mode, that is, you see the cursor blinking there. That means I can type into it, and hitting backspace, every character within the cell is removed. So the content of the cell is removed one character at a time. And I'm in edit mode. Okay. So when the cursor is found blinking within the cell. But if that's not the case, if it's just at the top, I've typed in something here now, you can see that the cursor isn't blinking. If I hit backspace, the backspace button, everything is erased. Everything goes off once. So let me just do that. So you see, I don't need to take it one character at a time. Okay, guys, so that's for Control C and Control V. What about Control H? What does that do? I'm just going to hit that, and I'm sure that there are times you, perhaps working with Excel, there's times you thought about finding something in your documents. So you have a document of several thousands of rows, and perhaps there's a name that you want. So let me just do that. I got this dialog box, this find and replace box, just by hitting Control H, and I want to look for, so find what? Control CTRL, and replace it with, let me say, no control. No control. So that's just it, for example. And I will just say replace. I'm just going to find all. Let's see. So row by row, we find all the cells that contain control, row by row, in the worksheet, sheet 5, in the workbook called testing file. So that's the use of the find. So if I want to go to anyone, just click on it, the cell, and you'll find that that particular cell is activated. So currently, row 21, column A, row 21 is activated. You see, that's it, the cell. So you can see clearly that there's the word control right there. Now, in the same way, I just want to do the replace thing. Replace, okay? So I want to replace all. Let me just hit back Control H. I want to replace all the all the cells that have CTRL with no CTRL, no control. So I would type in what I want to change and what the replacement should be. And if I need that particular cell content, every occurrence of it to be replaced, then I would click on replace all. So let me just do replace all. So 18 replacements, great. Hit the document itself, not the box, and then let me just do Control Z. So that brings back the original content. And let me just click on Control P. So I'm on row 10. Control A, row 10. So I just want to replace control with no control just in that cell, row 10. So I don't need to, please don't don't click on replace or just click replace. So only that one, the current active cell, gets modified. So click replace, and that's it. Only that one, the rest are not affected. All right, so I'll just close this. That's what we need for now. Control Z to bring back my original content. Okay, so that's that for Control H. Now the next question is, what's the use of Control Y? I've even used Control Z, if you guys can recall. Control Z. Now let me do something. So in cell H18, in cell H18, you can see from the name box, that's the current active cell, H18. So I'm on cell H18, but I don't need this content anymore. This was done, adding this content here was done in error. So what do? I would need to go back to the previous states, okay? The state just one action away from the current. So I would simply do Control Z, hold down Control and hit the Z key. That action is reversed. But what if I need it back? I just realized that, oh, I shouldn't have undone what I did. So I actually need to redo. That is, repeat the action that was reversed. In that case, guys, I would simply then use Control Y instead of Control Z. So Control Y, and you see that Kene is brought back. That is redo. Remember, I mistakenly typed in Kene and did Control Z to go back to the time when there was no Kene. And I realized that, oh, okay, actually there's a need for Kene. So I had to redo by hitting Control Y. So Control Z is undo, Control Y is redo. And we can see the icons for the two operations here in the quick access toolbar. So undo, okay, I click on at the top, guys, where the cursor is. You see where the mouse is, you see that, and this becomes active because I can redo, bring back Kenny. Now there's no further action in front. I can only go back in terms of the actions undertaken. So that's why the redo becomes disabled. That's the reason. Okay, so let me just get this off, guys. That goes off. I hit the backspace button to get the content off or to erase the content. What about Control G, the go to dialog box? It's simply called the go to. Hit Control G, and that brings you up. Now, if you don't want to use Control G, you can also press the function key Fn and F5. Now, if your keyboard doesn't support Fn directly, you can, if your keyboard doesn't support the function keys directly, you can use the function, hold down the function key at the bottom of your keyboard, hold it down and click the escape key, hit the escape key. That activates the function keys, okay? So that way you can use the function keys. But let me just take this off by repeating the process. Hold down function key and hitting escape. Right, so guys, what was it we're talking about? The go to. So I'll just have Control G. Now the go to is used where I want to go from one cell to the other, even though I don't see the need for that, and I can just use my mouse and click on the cell that I want to work on. But what if I want to go to some cell in another worksheet? Then I think that the go to becomes important. Now let me just do that here. I will reference names. I will reference names and then use exclamation mark, and then when I get to names, what's the cell address for that? I need that to be, so $, make it absolute, A $1. That's simply cell A1 in names worksheet. Okay, so sorry, just need to just a moment, guys. I have to hit something to A1 right there, and then I click Control G, and then just take it to names, exclamation mark, A1, right? So, okay. So we're right here, cell A1 of names sheet. So let me just click on sheet 5. Just at the bottom, you have all the sheets, in the way they are ordered. Okay, so that's how you use the go to, and just click on Control, hold down Control and press the G key. What about, guys, what about the operation Control 1? Hold down Control and press 1. What does that do? It just brings up the font modification box. Let's see, guys. Control 1. So we see here, if I need to work on the fonts, change some things about the font, maybe the font family or the font type, the style, should it be bold or italic, and the size, and blah, 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 of the particular cell, the active cell. So let me just take this at the beginning. So I need to modify this cell A1. So it's selected there, and then Control 1. I just want to change the font size to 28, just the font size. I think that's okay. So you can explore the other properties there. Okay, so if I hit, you see that it is, different. The size is now different. So you can get that box just by holding down Control and hitting the key 1. Right. So guys, I don't need this font this big. So I'll go back to that cell, hit Control. Okay, let me not use the shortcut key. I mean the keyboard shortcut. I want to use the mouse this time. So right click, make sure I've selected that particular cell, right click, and then you find format cells. Among the options in the menu that appears, format cells, hit format cells, and you still have the font modification box. So instead of 28, which is now what it is, I'll just pick 11, and okay, that takes us back to the original font size. Great. Right, guys. So what about, of course, if you don't want to use Control Shift, if you don't want to use Control 1, you can also hold down Control and Shift at the same time before hitting F8. So Control Shift F8 still brings you the font. So those are two keyboard shortcuts for bringing up the font modification box. Either you do Control 1 or you simply do Control Shift 8. Okay, now guys, there are times when you want to hide cells. How do you do that? Could be the row or the column. How do we do that? So we can just do Control 9 or Control 0. Control 9 hides a row. If I need, say, row 2, I don't want row 2 visible anymore. What do I do? Just simply do Control 9. Now, you can tell that a row is missing when you look at the numbering here. It goes from 1 to 3. So what happened to 2? 2 is hidden. Yes. So if you want to hide the row, make sure that, so let me just undo. You undo to go back to, the previous state. Make sure that the row is selected before you can select any cell on that row. Doesn't matter. The entire row gets hidden. So I will do Control 9 and that row 2 is no longer visible. What do I do if I need it back? I need the cell 2 to reappear. All I need to use now is I need to bring in the Shift key. So instead of Control 9, which is to hide the row, I'll do Control Shift 9 to bring it back. Control Shift 9. Guys, please remember, Control 9, hide the row. Control Shift 9, unhide it. As I said earlier, I'm just, discussing this, not that I expect that you, in an instant memorize all these keyboard shortcuts. No, it's not something that I would advise you to do. Just keep practicing, keep using Excel. The need for these functionalities will come up. And if you don't remember, just go online. That will help you. It is the frequency of use that makes it stick, not by memorizing it. No, I wouldn't suggest that at all. Okay, because even I, sincerely, so many times I forget the keyboard shortcut, and for some, I haven't even learned, really. I mean, there are 1,000,001 keyboard shortcuts. How many do I want to memorize? But I can get my work done by using the internet. Okay, so that's it, guys. Now, what about hiding a colon? So you guess right. Control 9, hide the row. Then the next key after 9 there, you see that is 0. So I can say Control 0 to hide the colon. Let's see if that works. So I've activated the active colon there is colon E. You can see, guys, it has a darker gray color. Control E, I mean that's for colon E. So when I hit Control 0, the E disappears. But you can tell that something is missing. A colon is missing because it goes from D to F. So what happened to the E? What if I want to get that back? Now I can do Control Shift 0. But for some reason, it doesn't work, using it doesn't work in on my system, the ASUS Windows operating system I have as Windows 11 with the ASUS keyboard. I haven't been able to, get it to work. There is a way of doing it by altering the language input somewhere, which I'm not going to cover here. But I could just do Alt HOUL, and that will bring back the missing colon. Hold down the Alt key and in quick succession hit HOUL. So I'll do that, guys, and we'll see that particular column reappear. Alt HOUL. Sorry. Alt HOUL. No, it doesn't. I need to take that again. Control 0 and then Alt HOUL. That brings it back very quickly in quick succession. Okay, so that's for hiding and unhiding colons. What about Control Shift with a plus? So what do you think that does? Do you know that it's possible to add a row to my grid? For example, I just realized that, oh, I need a major heading for what I have here. So I want a row at the very top to contain the major heading there. So I will come to, let's say I need it at the top, I would hit the cell that's going to come right under the new row that I want to create. So that's going to be row 1. And what I want to do is add a new row on top of it. So I can simply do that by using Control, Shift, and plus. Hold down Control key, the Shift key, and the plus key very quickly. Dun, dun, dun. So you see that it brings up the insert dialog, and from there I can just say, oh, insert an entire row, So it goes all the way to the end of the column for that particular row. And okay, so a new row is added. I can now say Excel tutorial, Excel lessons, Excel lessons. So that's like a heading for what we have today. Okay, so now I have this row created, but I don't need it anymore. So I want to delete it. The same thing, guys. I will simply do Control Shift plus, hold down Control and the Shift key and the plus key, hit the plus key, not hold it down, guys. Hold down Control and the Shift and hit the plus key. So that brings up that insert box again. And I can just simply, oh, sorry guys, this is to insert. The reverse is the case. I got that mixed up. I want to delete this row. So it's not going to be Control, Shift, and plus. Yeah, guys, you guessed that right. It's just going to be Control minus. I don't know why they remove the Shift this time for the delete box, but it's just Control minus. I used to, mistake the two, control shift minus or control minus. Since I have control shift plus for the insert box, why don't I have it as control shift minus for the delete box? But, the guys in Excel decided that that should just be control minus. So I want to delete the first row, everything on that first row. So entire row, and off it goes. Okay, right. But let me type in some content in cell I10. The active cell has a darker hue, has a darker color. So here you see that 10 is highlighted, and I here is darker in terms of the grayness. So the cell is I10. I want to move. I want to delete by moving. So there are different options for deleting. So I'll just make sure that particular column or that cell is selected, that cell, and then do control minus. You see the other options. The first time I deleted a row at the top, but I don't want to delete a row now. I want to delete a column, an entire column. That is all of I at this time, this current time. So I'll pick entire column, and it just moves. The one after moves forward. So there's still an I column. Let me just undo that and also do control minus. What about the shift cells left? It just moves it. The content there of that cell gets to the next, goes to the next cell just in front of it. So shift cells left. Sorry guys. Kenny. And let me use the keyboard, control minus and shift cells left. Right. So the Kene is deleted, and then the content after it. So I need to revise that, guys. The content just behind it gets moved leftwards. So it's not just deleting the cell, it deletes what is there and moves the content right after it forward. So that's shift cells up. Shift cells left. The same thing. Now let's look at the fourth option. I have some content here. Let me call it Kene. Content here, Kene. And I want to delete. So control minus. And this time I want shift cells up. Let's understand it, guys. When I delete Kene on in cell H9, what I have in cell H10 gets moved upwards. Okay, so let me do that. Shift cells up. Okay, and voila, it gets taken off, and then the content underneath is raised. So I'll just undo all of that. So you can undo as many times as is possible. Okay, making progress. Guys, what about the shift key and the F3 together? You know the menu box from where I can pick either to modify or to link a cell, all those functionalities. I could do that, guys, by just using the Shift F3. So let's try that out. Shift F3. Oh, that's because the function key is not activated. So let me just do that right away. Okay, so again, Shift F3. I'm sorry. got that mixed up there. Shift F10. Shift F10. So you see these options to modify my content. For example, I can cut, I can copy, I can insert a row or a column, I can delete a row or a column, I can even just clear content of a range of cells. And then I can format cells. So you remember formatting the font the last time, changing the font rather, that box. So I can get the box by clicking on format cells here, or simply just type in. So I just want links, anything links. So we see insert hyperlink, everything for links, right? And that's case sensitive L, and okay, it's not just everything links. Okay, and drawing to a close, what if I want a new sheet? A new sheet. This time, guys, not a new workbook. A new worksheet is what I need. I can simply do Shift F11. Shift F11. Now, I want us to take notes. A new sheet called Sheet 3 is created. Now, a new sheet again, Shift F11. Sheet 4 is created. So as many worksheets as you want. Control N gives you a new workbook, but Shift F11 gives you a new worksheet in the current worksheet, in the current workbook. Let's get that, guys. All right, so I don't need these newly created sheets. Sheet 4, just right click at the bottom there where you have the sheet tabs, right click on any and then delete. The same for sheet 3, right click and hit on delete. All right, that's it, guys. Now I want to talk about something, and we'll call it a day. I have Kene, and I want okay, in the same cell, Kene as the name. Now in that same cell, I want to have, say, the age. I don't want to come to a new cell to put the age. No, say 20. What I need to do, if I want the data, all the data in a single cell, I just make sure that the cursor is blinking and then do Alt Enter. If I do Enter, just Enter, it comes down to the next cell. But that's not what I want. So while the cursor is blinking, I will do Alt Enter. So it brings the cursor one step down. So I can now say age 20. So you see that both name and age are in a single cell. That's it, guys. And I will just double click right here. Make sure that you have this thick anchor sign there, or icon rather, to make it fit to fit the content. So the width fits the content of the data in that cell. And if I am not satisfied with that, I can simply just, while it is showing the very black anchor icon, I just make sure that I have my mouse pressed down and I drag to alter the width of the data. So that's it. It fits in there now. Okay. Right. Then lastly, Alt H. Now, guys, let's look at this. Remember the bar. We had the tab holding the label for the groups of functionalities, and then the ribbon bar having those functionalities like segregated in groups. Now, there are different keys for different actions we can find on the ribbon bar. So how do I even get to the ribbon bar? Just by using the keyboard. Simple. You just do Alt H, Alt H. So that's it. I really don't need to memorize. It's still quite a challenge for me. I don't need to memorize all these keyboard shortcuts. But of course, you can see that for, say, insert a cell or a row or a column, I will do Alt H and I. So this is the third thing I need to press, the I key, to be able to alter and to be able to insert a cell or a row or a column. So let's just see that in action. Alt H I, you see. And then even getting to this sub functionality, I need to now select precisely which one I want to do. So I want to insert an entire row. So insert sheet rows, or get the chance to select which one I want, either an entire row or an entire column. So that again takes me back. So I'm going to do Alt H I for this insert functionality, and I again for insert cells. So let me do that. Alt H I. That brings me this particular insert box. Then I can pick. All right, so guys, just play around with it, understand the keyboard shortcut. But for these keyboard shortcuts, you also can just click. Just go about it also by clicking. So if I want to insert something or change color, the color of my fonts. Yes, guys, I didn't even talk about these font properties here. How do I make it bold, for example? The font property here. How do I make it bold? Let's say my text here now online on row 28. I want to make it bold. Simple, still the control thing. So just do Control B. Those are like, I don't know how that skipped my mind. They are basically the most common and maybe most important, I can say. Make the content bold, right? And to undo that, just do Control B again. Hold down Control and hit the B key for that cell, and it gets undone. What if I want to make it italics? Control I and Control I to take it off. I can do that either by using the keyboard shortcut or by using my mouse. So you see that it's bold, and to undo. When it's active or when it's being used, you notice that it has a darker background than the rest of the icons there. So the B has a darker background, right? So that tells me that the content of this cell is bold. So I need to take that off, right? So guys, what about, you can guess if the B to make it bold is Control B, italicize it is Control I, then to underline the content of that cell will be Control U. Control U. You see that cell A19 here is underlined, the active cell, and I can just undo that by doing Control U again. Now you can even have 2 or 3, on the same cell. So let me take this row 11 cell and do Control B, make it bold, underline it, and italicize it. 3. three modifications there, and I can undo all in no particular order. Take off the italics, take off the boldness, and take off the underline, the same way they were created. Okay, so thank you guys. I hope I didn't miss anything. I didn't miss anything there. Nothing left out. Oh, yeah. 24, row 24, the the formula search. This here is the formula search. Shift F3. Shift F3. We'll come to formula, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But of course, you know that this is how you can search for a function. If I need to add two numbers, how do I do it? I can use the sum function, but we're not going to do that just yet. Right, so thank you guys. I'll see you in my next video. Do have a great day.